Fight sticks are my controller of choice, so today I'm going to compare fight sticks to the official Hori Pokken pad. First I'll talk about the potential benefits of switching to stick, then the drawbacks, if there are any. The first major difference you'll notice when playing on stick is the buttons are very accessible and spread out. This makes certain inputs like holding charge moves while doing other actions much more doable. A couple examples. BadIntent's basic wall combo into flop is quite awkward on pad because you have to hold X, then press B, then Y, then release X all with your thumb. On stick, you can hold X with one finger, press B with another, and Y with yet another before finally releasing X. Nice and clean. Here's an example of the flop combo on pad. Here's BadIntent's basic wall combo on stick. For Darkrai, holding charge with both Y and X or doing simple nightmare loops into net and release X are much easier on stick. The second benefit to stick is having access to 6 specific input techniques, such as carry cancels and double tapping. Now I know pad enthusiasts will tell you, well, you can carry throw on a pad. Well, yeah, if you do this weird thumb sliding motion with buttons that are right next to each other only. But on stick, you can blink any 2 buttons anywhere with 2 fingers. Here's an example of Shadow Mewtwo's throw versus carry throw on stick. Also, something you actually can't do on pad without something like a claw grip is double tapping, also known as drumming. This lets you get 2 inputs very quickly by sliding 2 fingers on a button faster than you can possibly press a button with 1 finger twice. Practical applications are for things like just frame moves like Shadow Mewtwo's side strike. Here's an example of doing the just frame on a pad. Notice how I get 1 input for each of the A just frames. Now I'll do it on a stick. Notice how I get the 2 inputs each time I press A instead of the 1. The last benefit is the actual joystick versus the D-pad. Normally I'd say joystick versus D-pad is completely up to personal preference, especially in a game without motions like Pokken, but the Hori D-pad is actually trash. I cannot count the amount of times I and other Blazikins have gotten Sky Uppercut instead of Blaze Kicks because of this super mushy D-pad. The directions are not individual buttons or different micro switches like on stick. And since there's no physical separation between the directions like a PlayStation pad, missed inputs are quite common. Actually, let me show an example. I used to actually play on a PS3 controller at Pokken events, and there is physical separation between the actual directions on the D-pad, whereas this is just one mushy thing. And a fight stick has individual micro switches which you can hear. The only real drawback to using stick is the buttons. If you don't invest in silent buttons, which aren't really silent by the way, these are quite loud, as you can hear. Meaning your opponent can hear you pressing your moves. Except this actually isn't a drawback because you have more buttons than there are controls in the game. So for instance, these 2 buttons are assigned only to shift the screen position. In a real match, they don't do anything. So if your opponent is listening to your buttons, you can be mashing on these and they think you might be mashing like a side strike or something and you're really not pressing anything and they try to react and then you punish them for that. So not really a drawback at the end of the day. So what have we learned? Button placement's more spread out, stick specific techniques like carry throwing and drumming are possible, and directional inputs are more accurate on stick compared to the Hori Pokken pad. My verdict, stick is superior to pad, and why have you not switched yet? Thanks for watching Pokken Extras. See you next time. Disclaimer, after I made this video, TPCi stealth banned fight sticks from official events, but I'm still going to be using them at unofficial events like Big E tournaments, locals, and any major that's not run by TPCi, which is actually pretty much every single major besides internationals. So not legal at official events, but you can still use them anywhere else.